maybe yours was all correct and you signed it. All right, I need David. Did I give you the minutes?
It's 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Call to order the meeting of the Greenwood Common Council on Monday, December the 3rd. If you would stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing, we'll be led in prayer this evening by Father Wilson of St. Mary Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
O Lord our God, who fills the universe that you have created, dwelling above yet present in all things that you have made, send down now your guidance, your wisdom, and blessings upon this council gathered in assembly here tonight, that its decisions may be led by you for the greater good of the community that it serves. In your holy name we ask. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. Roll call.
Armstrong.
Here.
Bates.
Present.
Campbell.
Here.
Dine.
Here.
Foster.
Here.
Gibson. Here. Hill.
Here.
Hopper.
Here.
And Lexi.
Here. We have a quorum. All of you should have received copies of the minutes from our last regular meeting on November the 19th. Do you have a motion? So moved. Motion by Mr. Bates, second. Second by Mr. Lexi. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Seeing none, roll call on the minutes.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Dine.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gibson. Abstain. Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
And Lexi.
Minutes are approved. A vote of 8-0 with one abstention. At this time, we set aside time in the agenda for audience requests. And if you're a member of the audience and would like to address the council concerning business that is on the agenda, please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record. As most of you know, we've had 2 times where we allow audience requests. Beginning tonight, the first opportunity is for items, agenda items only. The second opportunity at the end of our meeting will be for non-agenda items. So if you'd like to address the council, please step to the podium.
Hi, I'm David Curran with at 1296 West Smoky Road. And this is in regards to the ordinance 1846, rezoning of acreage near Smoky Road and 135. We recognize tonight's vote is for rezoning of the proposed area. However, this is only one step in the process of development. And as a long-term property owner, we believe there are concerns that need to be addressed for the current residents prior to this or any development being allowed to proceed. We would like to bring some of those concerns to your attention tonight. One, groundwater drainage issues. The proposed development is centered around an existing retention pond. This pond regularly reaches its banks and overflows during heavy rain with its existing design. Any runoff water flows north towards our properties, as we are the lower elevation. Our area has a high water table naturally, so any additional rainfall causes standing water and flooding in some areas. During heavy rainfall, the roadway near the proposed development site floods over and is often impassable. It is common for new construction to involve adding fill dirt to raise the elevation of their buildings. It's likely this process will increase the runoff towards our properties and needs to be taken into consideration. The road itself is a county road. It's not adequate for the amount of traffic already using it, which has increased dramatically since the Kroger complex was added. This road is narrow, has no shoulder on either side, and has a 4 to 6 inch drop off on the edge since its last repaving was done. This drop off was the cause of a recent rollover accident involving a cement truck that landed in our neighbor's front yard. The driver was trying to pass an oncoming vehicle, and because of the narrow roadway, went off the edge. The current amount of traffic is so much that most of us have moved our mailboxes to our side of the road because it was too dangerous to cross the road. With no shoulder to stand on and drivers that don't obey the speed limit, it was no longer safe in our viewpoint. Semi-truck traffic from the Kroger complex has been utilizing this road as well, which should not be allowed due to the road design. Any development is going to increase these traffic issues. The addition of the stoplight at 135 and Smoky Row Road has helped with traffic flow, but the intersection still has regular vehicle accidents due to the congestion. Additional residents are going to add to that congestion and issues. Part of this congestion is caused by the fact that Kroger has 3 access points within roughly 1,000 feet of 135. The proposed development will add at least one more access point within that same distance. We already experienced issues with drivers failing to yield when exiting Kroger, and the amount of proposed residences and occupants will only compound that issue. We moved to the area more than 14 years ago because we were able to find a sizable amount of land, not be in a subdivision, not be crowded by an abundance of houses and people, but still have what we needed in an acceptable driving distance. Greenwood annexed our area without us having a choice, and since then, many discussions have been held on proposed development of the farmland around us. Tonight, we're asking that the council avoid strictly focusing on the new development and consider the impact this or any development will have on the existing residents. As long-term occupants of the area, we should also receive the city's equal attention to matters and concerns affecting our properties and homes and the additional impact that could be caused by new developments. We understand, that's Greenwood's approach lately is adding residents, adding neighborhoods. We're just asking for the city's consideration for those of us that have lived here a long time and also have our own properties and homes that we want to maintain and that we don't want affected negatively by any development. Not just the one on the ordinance tonight, but any development.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Curran? All right, thank you very much.
I have copies of that.
Give that to the clerk, please. All right, anyone else wishing to address the council at this time? All right, seeing none, moving on to reports, Corporation Counsel.
Should receive the items semi-monthly and the litigation report, and if you have questions, please contact me.
Anything under Controller's Office at this time? Any other committee or board reports?
Mr. President, we did, Plan Commission did meet a week ago. A couple of items that was on the agenda were continued. 2 that the Commission did approve are on the agenda here tonight. Ordinance number 1845 and ordinance number 1846.
All right. Any other committee or board reports? Seeing none, ordinances and resolutions, notice of intent to consider. Ordinance 1845.
An ordinance to amend the official zoning map adopted by reference in zoning ordinance number 82-1 as amended, proposed rezoning of approximately 0.0567 acres located at 1733 South State Road 135, sponsored by Bates.
Mr. Peoples.
Yes, sir. This is just a rezoning of a little bit more than half an acre. I think the ordinance on the agenda has it 0.567 acres. It's actually about little bit more than a half an acre, along State
So
Road
it should
135.
be 0.5.
Yeah, 0.567.
0.567.
Yeah. There's a typo in there. It's a single-family residence, or it's a single-family residential structure, apparently converted to office use several years ago. It's surrounded by the cemetery to the south and east, and then a similar C1 or office uses to the north. The Plan Commission did hear this, did forward a favorable recommendation. That vote was 8-0. They did recommend it subject to 3 commitments that should have been forwarded to you. Those commitments being increasing the width of the driveway to 20 feet. And that was from State Road 135 to the easternmost striped parking space. And then no less than 4 9-foot by 18-foot parking spaces and 1 ADA compliant parking space. And finally, Rule 13 approval obtained by the Indiana Department of Homeland Security. And this is, Rule 13 approval is something the state reviews old single-family residences to make sure they're for commercial use. And that's what Rule 13 approval is. The State Building Commission does that. Normally, what we would do in these cases is have a commercial site plan. We get all these things done during that commercial site plan process. Because it was converted prior to being annexed in the city, we sort of considered grandfather for that. So we're just sort of asking for the minimum that we need. The 20 feet is for fire department maneuverability onto the site. The parking spaces are to make sure that there's adequate parking for the land use. And then the Rule 13 approval is just to make sure that the structure itself is appropriate for commercial use. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. The petitioner is here, or the property owner is here. To answer any questions.
Is your mic turned on, Bill?
Is mine it? Probably, just
Okay.
probably not speaking into it, sorry.
So my question would be C1, a lot of uses for C1, right? So when this property owner moves out, something else comes in.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of uses in the C1 zoning district. A different land use could go in. C1 is a very light commercial zoning classification, so it eliminates a lot of the more intensive land uses, automobile sales and full-blown restaurants. It's weird because a C1 district would allow like a little coffee shop or a little pastry shop, you know, a little bakery or something like that. But if you're going to have a full-blown sit-down restaurant, you need C2 and C3. The other thing to keep in mind is that the State Road 135 corridor overlay district is here as well, and that has excluded uses as well. So that will also exclude some land uses along there. So a lot of the real intensive uses are sort of excluded. And the limited parking that's allowed or that would be on this site sort of makes it difficult to put anything real intensive on there.
What are they using it for now?
It's vacant, or at least it was.
What's the intended use then after this?
Real estate office, so it was real estate office 1999, and then they sold it to, Forest Lawn, and Forest Lawn's been using it for an office space. And then when I purchased it from them, then I'm gonna keep using it as an office space.
Motion second.
Yeah, before we go on, I need a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Hopper, have a second? Second by Ms. Gibson.
I'll move to amend to lower.
All right, and we have a motion to amend.
To correct the acreage size to 0.567 in the caption and in the body of the ordinance, the legal description is correct.
Second.
Second, we have a motion by Mr. Hopper to amend, a second by Mr. Bates. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, roll call on the amendment to ordinance 1845.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Bates,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Dunn,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gibson,
Aye.
Hill, Hopper,
Aye.
and Lexi.
Ordinance 1845 is amended 9-0.
And am I looking at the right house? A little, looks like red brick, white windows, one
It's a little
single
yellow,
story.
yeah, it's got a brick in the front of it.
All right, any further discussion? All right, thank you. No discussion, then roll call, ordinance 1845.
Bates,
as amended.
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Donnie,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gibson. Hill. Hopper,
Aye.
Lexi,
Aye.
and Armstrong.
Aye.
Ordinance 1845 passes 9-0. Ordinance 1846.
An ordinance to amend the official zoning map adopted by reference in zoning ordinance number 82-1 as amended, proposed rezoning of approximately 36.495 acres located along the south side of Smoky Road Road, east of State Road 135, sponsored by Bates.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bates, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Gibson. Mr. Peoples.
This right here is a rezoning of about 36.5 acres over there at Smoky Road Road. It's a property right behind the Kroger. The total of the acreage is, the current zoning of the acreage is about a third of it, or about, a little bit more than a third of it is zoned C2, a little bit more than like half of it is zoned R4 already. And then there's a small 4-acre part that's zoned R2B. And so if you think about the zoning, the vast majority of it, 32 acres, give or take, is already zoned for this land use. So only the 4 acres of it is not zoned for this land use currently. I think a lot of it is just to clean up some of the, well, obviously some of it is to get that 4 acres rezoned to the R4 zoning district to accommodate this development, but a lot of it is really just to clean up the zoning up there so that it's all zoned R4. The Plan Commission heard this, they did forward a favorable recommendation. I forwarded a staff report and had all the details on it if you'd like to. I don't think you want me to go into all those details here. But they did forward a favorable recommendation to you with a vote of 8-0. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you have on this one. The petitioners and the petitioners' representatives are here if you all want to hear from them as well.
Whereabouts are the 4 acres that need to be cleaned up?
It's the northeast corner of the site. So there's maps and in my staff report, and it shows that one of them is the existing zoning map. It's got the black hatched area, and the existing zoning map shows a little yellow piece there, and that's about 4 acres of land zoned R2B to the east of the pond.
Bill, do you recall a few years ago when we went through the 135 corridor and tried to get rid of all the R4s or have deed restrictions on all properties, why we didn't do this one?
I don't remember. I think that this was one of the properties that had, I think this was one of the properties that we tried to rezone. I don't know if this one has deed restrictions on it or not.
Okay, so, but if it's one of the ones we tried to rezone, I don't think we left any out there without getting it the deed restriction as R4, so that's why I asked.
Yeah, I honestly don't know really much about those deed restrictions.
I'd go for a presentation if you got one. Sir?
Mr. President, members of the council, my name is Russell Brown. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Clark Quinn Moses Scott McGraw, 320 North Meridian Street, Suite 1100 in Indianapolis. But with me tonight is Jim Fry with Redwood Acquisition, Redwood Development, and Josh Kreidler with Structure Point. Happy to answer questions that you might have if I'm able to do so. As staff mentioned, this is a rezoning of approximately 36.5 acres located south of Smoky Road Road and east of 135. Upon approval, this would be for the construction of 176 units is what the proposal is, or site plan is, which will be shy, just a little bit shy of 6 units per acre upon complete development. As I shared with the Planning Commission last week, so Councilor Bates has already heard this spiel, but this is not the first time Redwood has looked to be part of your community. We we started meeting with planning staff in 2012 to try to find a location that made sense economically and made sense from a demographic perspective. After several false starts or challenges, we believe this location will be a success for the city, for its residents, and for the developer. And tab one of your materials, spend some time tonight talking about Redwood, because I think it's important for you to understand who they are and what type of development is proposed here. In tab one of the materials, we provided a project summary for the project, which does include information about Redwood. Redwood Acquisition is the acquisition arm of Redwood Development. It's an Ohio-based company. It develops market rate apartment developments and has a management company as well. They currently have properties comprised of approximately 10,000 units throughout Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Iowa, Northern Kentucky, North Carolina, and South Carolina. As you look at those materials, you will see a product which includes a siding product as well as a stone and masonry product. We are aware of the architectural requirements for multifamily in the Greenwood zoning ordinance as well as in the 135 overlay. But we are not seeking any variances to those development standards. So we will construct a product which is in conformance with their standards. So from a materials perspective, those shown to you are not what's being proposed here. Architecturally, as it relates to roof lines, to layout, it is substantially similar. Redwood currently does have 4 completed sites in Fort Wayne, sites in Danville, 2 in Noblesville, 2 in Westfield, in Whitestown, Brownsburg, Plainfield, and Franklin Township in Indianapolis, which is visible from I-65, just north of Stop 11 Road on the east side of I-65. So you see it as you drive towards downtown Indianapolis. Redwood's communities include a variety of floor plans, which range from 1,100 square feet to a little over 1,700 square feet. But all floor plans are ranch style garden apartments. The proposed development here for you this evening would consist of floor plans ranging from just under 1,300 square feet to on the small end to sizes a little bit over 1,700 square feet on the larger size. All units have an attached garage, either 1.5 car or 2 cars. They have a 2-bedroom, 2 baths. They have rear patios, include energy efficient design and appliances. Rents begin at $1.15 to $1.30 per square foot per month free. These units will be arranged in buildings consisting of 4, 6, 7, 8, or 9 units, consisting of 26 total buildings on site. Development is a market rate development. They are not pursuing tax credit financing for this project, and all products in Redwood's portfolio are conventional finance. Target residents through marketing and outreach efforts are empty nesters or young professionals. These are not age-restricted apartments, but targeted towards those classifications through marketing outreach. Redwood has a proven record of attracting these types of tenants and other communities in their central and north central Ohio, which are the most established communities in their portfolio. They average less than 2 residents per unit on average in this community. This would be constructed by Pride One Construction as a general contractor, as a development partner of Redwood. They do utilize high quality materials because Redwood intends to be the long-term owner and manager of these products that they develop. Tab 2 of our materials shows the proposed site layout for that 36.5-acre site. As staff mentioned, it is uniquely shaped and partially developed with an existing detention pond for the adjacent commercial development. Redwood's typical community is an infill environment, serving as a transition between commercial users and single-family residential users, or between single-family and major thoroughfares. They have several successful developed products which serve as this zoning transition in the central Indiana market. Tab 2, the second page of tab 2 also shows a rendered site plan showing how landscaping would be utilized throughout the development for those surrounding properties and the surrounding uses. We believe this helps to show development will function as a transitional use between commercial and single family while continuing to provide an enjoyable neighborhood feel for those Redwood residents. This would be developed in 2 phases, approximately 111 units in phase 1 and 75 units in phase 2. Construction would commence upon approval of this rezoning mid-year next year. Staff did a great job in the Planning Commission staff report of providing the history about how this parcel came to contain 3 zoning classifications and how that interplays with the comp plan for the area. Comp plan on the existing zoning on this site appeared to show that low-density multifamily has been contemplated to be part of the development of this property as a transitional use for a number of years. We believe the product before you tonight fits the low-density multifamily product to a T. The petition before you tonight does request, as staff mentioned, a small amount of that property zone R2B to be rezoned to allow for R4 development. This need exists because of the unique shape of the parcels which have already been transferred to end users and that location of the pond on site. With the 4 acres, a little bit more than 4 acres that would be rezoned would allow for access off of Smoky Road and allow for visibility of the product of Smoky Road. There's only a small number of R4 uses in that location. In addition to fitting in the comp plan as a transitional use, as multi-rate, as market rate multifamily, this is a 2% tax benefit to the community. Redwood is also generally constructed and maintained private streets, and with on-site management and maintenance and repair, with the concept of being a long-term owner of the developments they build, they've found to be a good neighbor and valued part of the communities where they're located, while being a low utilizer of public services. The proximity to the commercial corridor is a huge attraction to Redwood's typical tenants. It allows for the retention of downsizers in your community, the attraction of young professionals who are not ready for home ownership, yet like living in a neighborhood feeling. The proximity to both US 31, State Road 135, and ease of access to both I-65 to the east and the future path of I-69 make this an ideal location for Redwood's typical desired tenant. Redwood is generally not attracted to a tenant who would be a typical 3-story dense multifamily product. The community amenities are not geared towards tenants with children. They don't have playgrounds, swimming pools, so generally Redwood has a lower impact on schools than typical market rate multifamily development, and less impact than a single family development of similar sizes. It's not unheard of for Redwood to be in close proximity or even immediately adjacent to a more typical 3-story multifamily product. So they're generally not competing for the same tenant. The Plan Commission, the staff report discussed a concern about the secondary access point on the conceptual site plan. The second access point is something we've spent a lot of time trying to chase down before we filed for rezoning. Unfortunately, given the layout of this property, the second access, and some of the points raised by the resident before this heard, the second access point on Smoky Road we think was not viable or helpful for the traffic issues. So how that's been dealt with here is to obtain a secondary access point on, if you look at your site plan, just north of building M, on the property, which would be an emergency access through that commercial development to the west. It's not shown there, but there would be a drive that's located there, and that would allow for that secondary access point for emergency vehicles. This has been a strategy we've used in other central Indiana sites where that second access point does create a challenge. As mentioned, this proposal did receive a favorable recommendation. It is a downzoning of approximately 13 acres from that commercial use to an R4 development here. Redwood is excited to be here, to be on the cusp of being part of your community. For those reasons, we would ask for your favorable vote tonight. Happy to answer questions that you have, but otherwise would ask for your adoption of this rezoning ordinance this evening.
Just on that second access point, you say it would be on the, what would be the southwest?
Yeah, Josh has a exhibit that I didn't get in time to incorporate into our material that shows that location. On the site plan, my materials, it shows a mail kiosk that's extend it to the property line, and then you would have an access easement through that commercial development to the west.
Mr.
Any-
Brown, I'm sorry, were you done, Mr. Campbell?
No, go right ahead, I'm sorry.
I have a question. You mentioned that you had a property and that it was visible from an interstate. Did you say that was 65 up towards Southport?
Yes, ma'am.
And on the east side of the road?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a couple. One of the residents close by mentioned the detention pond overflowing. Bill, do we have any kind of a history on that being the case? What I know, obviously, with this development, there has to be, we have to meet drainage ordinance requirements and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, it'll go through a residential site plan. That pond shouldn't overflow, so it's probably something we should check. The pond was constructed to accommodate the Kroger development at full build-out, and there's several lots there that aren't developed yet. So it's probably something we should check. This will have to go through a residential site plan. In the residential site plan, they'll have to do drainage calcs and submit drain, and it'll be reviewed. It'll be designed by PE and then reviewed by our outside review consultant, who's Commonwealth Engineers, and then it'll be reviewed by Daniel and his staff. So we should be able to catch any drainage issues. But there are some, it's flat out there. The conveyances are kind of difficult. The conveyances that are out there are kind of difficult to go. And we've had some discussions because not only is this site under consideration for development, but the single-family residential piece is also, people are looking at developing that property as well. So we've had some discussions with people there about the drainage difficulties in here and designing it so that it meets our drainage ordinance. Well, they'll go through the process and we'll have them designed to the drainage ordinance. And we'll also have them widen the road as well.
That was my next question.
I mean, they'll have to put in, do a reconstruction of the road, XL, decel lanes, bypass lanes, and, building the road out to 12-foot travel lanes, I think with 2-foot stone shoulders. So there'll be some road work that will be done as part of that residential site plan. Now, that'll only go from lot line to lot line, but one lot line abuts up to the Kroger development, which we've already had them do that. So that widening is done on the west side. So this will bring that widening all the way back to their eastern property line. And like I said, the single-family residential piece has a lot of interest in it. If that develops single-family, that Smoky Row will be widened as that residential development to the east is developed as well. So it's possible in a few years, Smoky Row could be 12 feet travel lanes all the way from 135 to Honey Creek once all that property is developed.
What travel lane width is there now?
And like you said, it's an old county road, probably chip and seal, so it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 11 feet wide. It pinches down. The real issue with this road is not so much the travel lane width, but it's the drop off on each side. So there's a pretty significant drop off on each side of the road. So even as you're driving it, you're thinking, geez, you feel bad, you feel like anxious driving that road just because of the drop off on the sides, not necessarily the travel lane.
And when you say it will be widened, it'll be widened on both sides of the road?
Yeah, I mean, that's typically what we do. We widen it out to 12 travel lanes on both sides. Sometimes we have to offset a road, we have to offset a axle decel lane to get that 12-foot travel lanes, but that's the intent. I mean, obviously it'll go through the site plan process and the engineering staff will have some input into it. But yeah, the intent is widen both lanes out to 12 feet.
Any other questions for Bill? I thought Mr. Kern brought up a couple of good things which have been addressed, the drainage and the road improvements. I do have one question though. I know tonight we're just voting on a rezoning, but once this is rezoned and if it gets past us tonight, will it ever come back before us again?
Should not.
Should not?
No, there are no commitments that
So,
they would have to modify or review for any reason if they wanted to change them.
Do we need to add some commitments to this if we want to do that?
Are you asking me if I wanted to add commitments? I mean, I would, other than the fact that this is R4, so it's already all brick or stone.
Right.
So the architectural standards know whether or not
But
they say they're gonna abide by them and then go to the BZA and ask for a variance, that's a different story. Just in general, I don't support this project because it looks to me a lot like the Westport project where it was garage door after garage door. It looks like you were living in a garage, basically. We've also talked before about properties that market to the older generation. I happen to live in one of those neighborhoods, so the lots were empty forever. I have a hard time selling those. Perhaps the market is different now. I don't think it is, because in fact, I think the housing market is starting to slow down a little bit. So I don't know that empty nesters would really be the folks that will end up in here, much less I don't know anybody who wants to spend $1,300 to $1,700 in rent. If you're an empty nester, you want to probably own a place out in the country somewhere. We've also talked a lot here, and I thought we had finally turned the corner on better housing for Greenwood and higher standards, and I just don't think this is it. 176 units, 6 units per acre. I understand it's R4. Maybe you could still get it in there without the rezoning commercial R2B, but I vote no, and I ask you guys to vote no too.
What is the purpose of the outlot? The 1.74 acres?
Yeah.
Josh Kragovich, American Construction Point, 7260, Shadeland Station, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46256. That's to square up that corner down there and provide a better lot for the adjacent landlord.
Is there a reason why that is not left as C2?
No, I'm not sure at this time.
Like that said, Mr. Campbell, if there's anything you'd like to put on there, I'm happy to do it before we vote on it.
yeah, I know they've agreed, the project, the staff report talks about the quality of the project, and I know they've agreed to abide by our architectural standards, but I haven't seen anything in writing that would, make that so they could not go and get a variance on that at a later time. So I would be in favor of seeing that.
I'm always disappointed when the renditions don't give a true indication as to what the exterior is going to look like. And there's several people that I've had make comments to me about that area up there north of towards Southport Road. I kind of agree with David, or I do agree with David that I'm not sure that this is the appearance that we're looking for. But then if we saw a rendition that was accurate, maybe my opinion would be different.
Any further discussion?
Mr. President, if I might, we would
Yes.
be willing to commit, that the developer would could abide by your architectural standards as they exist today, as a binding commitment with this rezoning ordinance. That way, we couldn't go to the Board of Zoning Appeals and ask for a variance for that development standard. We would have to come back through the rezoning process if we wanted to do that. So that would be a mechanism where you would have to see it again before those modifications would be implemented.
I would entertain a motion to add the commitment that they
So
will
moved.
abide by the architectural standards. Motion by Mr. Bates, second. Second by Mr. Hill. Any discussion on the motion to amend ordinance 1846? Seeing none, roll call on the amendment.
Campbell,
Aye.
Dine,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gibson,
Aye.
Hill, Hopper,
Aye.
Lexi,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
and Bates.
Aye.
Ordinance 1846 is amended 9-0. Any further discussion on ordinance 1846 as amended?
Linda, am I right that every single one of those is the exact same color at Southport Road? At Southport Road. They all the exact same color.
I believe they are, but I couldn't swear to that, but I just know it looks bland.
Any further discussion?
Would it be possible for us to delay this until the next meeting so that we can all go visit the location at Southport Road?
You have up to 90 days from the date of certification to act on it, so you most certainly can postpone it to any meeting that you would like within the 90 days.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
We have a motion to postpone ordinance 1846 to our December 17.
We just postponed.
Oh, I think we have to set a date, don't we?
Yeah.
We have to set a date.
Okay.
Yeah, postpone it to our December 17th meeting by Mr. Armstrong, the second by Ms. Gibson. Any discussion on the motion to postpone?
Is that any problem for the developer?
I'm sorry, I was talking to staff, I didn't hear your question. I would like to go up and see the Southport development, and so I'm asking for a 2-week delay at this point. Be happy, 2-week delay would be great, and we'll work. I might just answer one of the questions Councilor Gibson asked about renderings. I will tell you, there's not a product like this that has 4-sided, solid surface stone brick architecture requirements in the 10,000 units. No municipality has that requirement, so there's not a version I can show you a picture of. We can work to try to get that. I don't know if I can get it in 2 weeks, but we can ask that question.
If you could have some rendering in a couple weeks, that would be helpful.
We'll endeavor to do that. I'm not going to stand and make a promise that I can deliver it. I'm not sure I can.
Understand. Any discussion on the motion to postpone?
Seems prudent. In honor of George H.W. Bush. Sounds prudent.
Sounds prudent. All right, roll call on the motion to postpone ordinance 1846 to our next meeting.
Donnie?
Aye.
Foster?
Aye.
Gibson?
Aye.
Hopper?
Was it aye?
Yeah, I think so.
Lexi?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Bates?
Aye.
And Campbell?
All right, ordinance 1846 is postponed to our December 17 meeting. Thank you, Jim. First reading, ordinance 1844.
An ordinance amending Greenwood Municipal Code 1993 as amended Chapter 4, Article 2, Division 13, Section 4-158 regarding fingerprint requirements for pawn shop and secondhand dealer licenses sponsored by Hopper.
Do I have a motion? So moved. Motion by Mr. Bates, second. Second by Mr. Dine. Any discussion on ordinance 1844? Oh, Mr. Dine, I'm sorry.
I'd like to make an amendment to this ordinance that would read that this has to be, the record check has to be done yearly, not only for the owner, but also for a person that's designated manager, supervisor, or that's in charge, since a lot of times the owners are out of state or in another company, or wherever, but where they have to have the criminal record checked once a year, and same way with their supervisors or managers.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Dine to amend ordinance 1844 as read. Second by Mr. Bates. Any discussion on the motion to amend 1844?
Guess I'll let you hear from the chief on that. Is that all important?
Okay. All right, it's fine with the chief. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call on motion to amend ordinance 1844.
Foster?
Aye.
Gibson?
Aye.
Hill?
Aye.
Hopper?
Aye.
Lexi?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Bates?
Aye.
Campbell?
Aye.
And Donnie?
Aye.
Ordinance Ordinance 1844 is amended, voted 9-0. Any discussion on ordinance 1844 as amended?
I do have a question. What kind of cost did we just impose on the owners of these businesses by making that change?
Well, probably raised it by 5 times because they were doing it once every 5 years. Now they're going to do it every year plus some of their
We
staff.
probably multiplied it by about 15.
Could be. Anybody have any idea what the cost is?
If you're only
on-
getting the owner, what's the point of even having the ordinance? Like
Yeah.
Mr. Dine said, if the owner's sitting back home on his porch, not even at the store.
I agree with that, but I'm just trying to see what kind of cost associated with this.
As I
Cost of
recall,
doing
it was like
business.
$15 for a fingerprint and $50 for a limited background check, or vice versa, one of the two, somewhere in there. Yes, Chief?
Yeah, it's the peanuts stems.
Any further discussion? Ordinance 1844 is amended. Seeing none, roll call. Ordinance 1844, first reading.
Gibson,
Aye.
Hill. Hopper,
Aye.
Lexi,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Dine,
Aye.
and Foster.
Aye.
Ordinance 1844 is amended, passed first reading 9-0. Ordinance 1847.
An ordinance amending the 2018 salary ordinance, common council ordinance number 1745, and the 2019 salary ordinance, common council ordinance number 1823, to add the positions of part-time program instructor in the Parks and Recreation Department and part-time laborer in waste management, sponsored by Gibson.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second by Mr. Bates. Any discussion? Ordinance 1847. Seeing none, roll call, first reading.
Hill.
Aye.
Hopper,
Aye.
Lexi,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Dine,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
and Gibson.
Aye.
Ordinance 1847 passes first reading 9-0. Second reading, ordinance 1842.
An ordinance to establish a special non-reverting fund to administer restricted donations received for Combs Road Realignment Improvements Project, sponsored by Bates and Gibson.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second. Second by Mr. Lexi. Any discussion, ordinance 1842? Seeing none, roll call, second reading. I'm sorry.
This will make it to where it's a curve very much like the crooked bend on Sheet Road.
All right. Any other discussion? Roll call, ordinance 1842, second reading.
Hopper,
Aye.
Lexi,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Bates,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Dine,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gibson,
Aye.
and Hill.
Ordinance 1842 passes second reading 9-0. Ordinance 1848.
An ordinance providing for an additional appropriation from the general fund to budget classification 112 in Board of Public Works and Safety budget, $200,000 for health insurance claims, sponsored by Bates and Gibson.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lexi. Is this scheduled for a public hearing? So open it up for a public hearing. If you're here tonight and wish to speak for or against ordinance 1848, please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Any discussion on the council, ordinance 1848?
So just so I understand, our insurance program pays up to $125,000 per employee.
And then there's a reinsurance that kicks into pay any kinds of.
And then if the city starts having to kick in extra, is that what you're referring to?
Well, we pay up to $125,000, and then we have reinsurance that pays anything above that.
Okay.
I think we're self-insured
Yeah,
up
we're
to that.
self-insured up to $125,000.
The stop loss is based on per illness being treated. So if it's a rather large scale one, we're covered on the stop loss, but if it's several individual ones, each time it resets.
And we have a more than normal claims this
We
year.
had several that were rather large ones this year that in the past we hadn't had all that at the same time.
Any further discussion, ordinance 1848? Roll call, second reading, ordinance 1848.
Lexi,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Bates,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Stein,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gibson. Aye. Hill. And Hopper.
Ordinance 1848 passes second reading 9-0. New business, introduction of new ordinances and resolutions, resolution 1825.
A resolution approving redevelopment commission resolution number 2018-12, amending the economic development plan for the Fry Road US Highway 31 Economic Development Plan and approving the order of the Greenwood Advisory Plan Commission sponsored by Campbell.
Mr. Wright?
So this came out of our work with the 3 school districts that affect Greenwood. And what we found was that all of our TIF districts, except for the Fry Road one, were set up to allow them to apply to the RDC for grants for particular projects. What we're trying to do is add the Fry Road TIF district into that so that dependent upon what area they're looking to affect with their program, they can access whichever TIF district is applicable, basically, so they can apply to that program for grants from the RDC.
Any questions for Mr. Wright? All right, thank you. Miscellaneous business from the council.
Mr. Prime, while you're here, can I ask you a question?
I'm sorry?
May I ask you a question while you're here?
Sure.
Okay. Did you represent any of the folks we tried to rezone from R4? I can't remember.
Several.
Did they follow through on their promise to file a deed restriction on the property?
I do know the one in question this evening does have a deed restriction on it that's reported.
Thank you, Mr. Prime. Any other business from the council?
I went to a family reunion yesterday and had 2 complaints on the road projects that we had just completed. We still need to figure out how to make the jug handle more obvious to the people using it. They were trying to turn left and didn't realize they needed to use the jug handle instead of go up to the stoplight. The other one, I've got a relative who owns a business back in the Sayre property on Emerson, and he said that it's now difficult for his suppliers to come in, and then when they leave, they cannot turn left because of vehicle traffic. Just, we need to figure out if there's something we can do to help those 2 issues.
All right, any other business from the council? All right, seeing none. Second opportunity for members of the audience to address the council. And if you'd like to address the council concerning business not on the agenda, now is your opportunity. You step to the podium, give your name and address for the record, please. See none, moving on. Other miscellaneous business, Corporation Council.
We have none.
Anything from the controller? Mr. Mayor? We are adjourned.